Dylan, thank you for coming on the podcast and thank you for inviting me to your studio, brother. Super grateful. I love to start my podcast with some gratitude. What are 3 things that you're grateful for today?
Oh, 3 things I'm grateful for today. Off the top of my head, like the team, like you said, how hard it is. We were just chatting before about the whole podcasting experience and being able to have people to lean on. So definitely the team to support me. I'd say grateful that I'm going to the snow next week. I know that's a big thing to be grateful for, but like I've been so busy the last couple of weeks and be able to go down to the snow with my partner and just enjoy the whole week. That's awesome. And then just the fact that like I'm so tired because I'm busy, but being busy is such a privilege. Yeah. So I think those are 3 things that I'm grateful for today.
Yeah, we were talking about that before, about so much happening in our life. And for me, moving out, podcast, for you, like the business and everything. And yes, we are tired. And some days we're like, what the fuck? But honestly, it's the best thing. And that's the part of the journey, eh?
Yeah. Like, man, I was working till 1 o'clock last night because I went to see a movie, which I had pre-booked like a month in advance. So I was working before the movie and I had to go to the movie at 8:30. And like, you can only enjoy it so much. And like, I know I've got a couple hours of work to do when I get home, but weekends here, got a week off, my first week off of the year. So it'd be good I don't take many breaks, but to take a week I'm really honestly going to try minimal email contact. Like, I'm always there if the team needs me or any questions or anything urgent, of course, but it's so good for me to take a week and really decompress and try not think about it, because if I do allow myself to have that break, when I do come back, I have all that clarity and energy and focus to then go after and smash the goals that I want to achieve. So it's something that I've had to learn to be good at, taking breaks, but they're so important for the longevity, man.
Definitely, bro. You got to be able to disconnect to be able to reconnect with yourself, man, because we get caught up in business, podcasting, our day-to-day lives. So many people, even their jobs, and they're just running unconsciously, man. They're just going through life, and it's like, take a moment and just like we did before, be present, be grateful for life and the little things, and reconnect with yourself is so important, bro.
100%.
I wanted to ask you, because I was listening to a few podcasts and you said being you is your superpower.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
Being you is your superpower. What did I mean by that? So the thing that I've learned in business, in life, building relationships, making connections, the more because the biggest thing are the people that build these platforms, right? We're talking about influencers, celebrities, thought leaders. The way that they build these platforms is by leaning into what makes them themselves, right? And if you want to cut through the noise, what's something that people always gravitate to? It's authenticity, right? People gravitate towards authenticity. And I can't sit here and try and be like Nick. You can't sit and try and be like me. People will see through it. But if you can just accept who you are and then realize this is who I am, I'm proud of who I am, and I'm going to show up and give 100% of myself to each day, to each relationship, to each moment. That's what people are attracted to. And if you can be yourself, then amazing things will happen. It's when you start trying to follow the crowd or doing things that aren't in alignment with yourself that I've noticed things don't tend to work out the best. And if I've ever met someone, and if you meet someone new and you be yourself, and for whatever reason they don't vibe with you, that's fine. They're not meant to be a part of your life. But I've noticed far more often than not, if you can show up as your true, authentic self, your sense of humor, your energy, your passion, regardless of who you're speaking to, people will gravitate towards that. And then if people gravitate towards you, energy gravitates towards you, and opportunity gravitates towards you. So that's what it is for me, just really understanding who you are and being able to turn that up to 100 and show up as your full self, that you can, if you're hanging out with your best mate, that full level of your personality, yourself, if you can show up with that in as many situations as you can, then it's going to just bring the most abundance to your life. That's something I truly believe.
Definitely, bro. And as a society, we're always comparing ourselves to others, especially social media, right?
Yeah.
And even with business and podcasting myself, I go through and I scroll through and see people and they're doing bigger things that I'm doing. And I have caught myself comparing myself. And I'm like, fuck, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? Have you done that in business yourself?
I have, but I haven't really let that affect me too much. The thing that I've most recently noticed where that showed up in my life is with the podcast. And it's because I have such high standards for myself, I'm comparing myself to Stephen Bartlett and the way he can control and host the conversation and the content they produce. And it's he's so much further ahead in his journey, both as a podcast and as an entrepreneur. He's made hundreds of millions of dollars and has one of the biggest podcasts in the world, a Dragon on Dragons Den. And comparing myself to people who are so far ahead in their journey, even people that might not necessarily have the biggest podcast, but have released 100, 150 episodes, and comparing myself to some of the things they're doing and thinking, fuck, why aren't we doing that yet? Why aren't we there yet? But we've not even released 20 episodes. And that's something I have to tell to myself, because I'm my own biggest critic. You know what I mean? I mark myself the hardest. So it's not so much like in comparison to, like, I don't feel bad. I don't feel envy. I don't feel jealousy. But sometimes I'm like, why aren't I doing that yet? And like, I need to, as fast as I can without rushing myself, level up to the point that I can execute to the best of my ability on all fronts. And that's kind of where it shows up in my life the most.
Using it as a bit of motivation. And inspiration as well, not just putting yourself down and being so hard on yourself. It's like, okay, if he can do that, why can't I? And going out and doing it yourself. Like, how many episodes have you done so far?
Oh, I think like we've released like 16, 17, and this is maybe like the 20th we've recorded. Oh wait, this is not even ours yet, but we're going to do the back-to-back, which will be like episode 20.
Most people don't even start, nor do they get past 20 episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
So for you to be able to get that far, it's fucking a massive achievement.
Yeah, and look, I'm proud, man, because it was something that I've wanted to do for 2 years. And it's easy when you're so caught up in business to, like, you're so caught up with being busy, right? Everyone's got so many things to do, and you can just get caught in the motion of activity. And while it's good to take action, and action is the most important thing if you want to change your life, action with that conscious thought of where I'm going and what do I truly want to achieve, and not what I thought I wanted to achieve 3 years ago or 5 years ago, or what society thinks success looks like. What do me, Dylan Mullan, what do I really want to do? What do I want from my life? And sometimes slowing down and reflecting on what's really going to make me happiest, what's really going to take me to the closest point of the life I want to live. And sometimes it's not an easy decision to do that, because you could be leaving money on a table by, I tell you what, I could make a lot more money if I spent all the time I spent on the podcast working on a business or a new business. But is that really in alignment with the life I want to live long term? No, it's not. So I think that was a bit of a reason why it took me a little while to start it. But now that we've started, like I said, we've got the team. I'm committed. There's no way we're not going to have 100 episodes and 200 episodes. Like, I'm so committed to this journey. And I'm just like, I'm proud that we started. And I'm proud of how we've been progressing and growing and leveling up our content and our processes. So it is a journey, and still so early on, but I'm excited to see what we can do in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, and where the podcast will be then.
Yeah, it definitely is an amazing journey. Like, I'm 3 years into mine as well, and it's just like all the stuff that you pick up and learn. It's crazy. Like, even the small things like tech stuff that we were talking about before. It's like all the little shit that you don't think of, you learn along the way from making mistakes. And just like anything in life, you've got to fail to be able to grow and to become a better version of yourself.
And I think everyone can relate. I was just talking to Joe, our producer, the other day, and he was stressing out about a couple of things, because you make little things don't go exactly how you planned, or there's a lot on our plate. But like, it's so fine, man. Like, stress and fucking up is part of the journey. If you try and control every single part of it to be perfect, you're just going to stress yourself out. That's one of the biggest lessons and learnings I've had over the last 5 years of business. Is I used to be a lot, like, it's going to sound contradictory because I'm more on paper successful, but I'm actually less of a perfectionist now in a lot of ways than I was before. I'm more of a perfectionist in the sense that I demand more from myself in my life. But I've realized I used to think that if I want to get where I want to be, I have to control every moment of the journey. Every moment of the journey needs to be perfect, or it's all going to unravel. But that's just not the case. Fuck ups and mistakes and redirections are all part of it. And if you have trust in yourself, in your purpose and the direction of your life, and you can just trust the journey and trust the universe is going to take you where you need to be, and show up every day with energy and focus and enthusiasm, fuck, let the rest, it'll take care of itself.
Definitely, bro. There's no such thing as perfection. And that's the biggest thing that I learned from being like a father and becoming a father. I was so strict on myself, so hard on myself. I've got to do this, have mad structure around my life. Then bring a kid into your life and it's all chaos. Every day is different. You can't be so hard on yourself. Some days I can't even do my podcast work because I've got to look after my daughter, which I'm super grateful for because it's taught me a lesson of not being so hard on yourself and realizing that nothing's perfect in life, bro. I want to go back to your upbringing, your childhood. Was there any pivotal moments, lessons, or people in your life that kind of shaped you into the person that you are today?
Yeah, there was many. I think the biggest one and the first one was the fact that like I lived until I was 5 years old with my mum and my grandparents. We had a granny flat in the back of my grandparents' house. And those were the best 5 years of my life. No matter what can happen, nothing will be that special. I could achieve all my dreams. But those 5 years being surrounded by my mum and my grandparents, I had my best friend who was my cousin, lived down the road. And I was surrounded by so much love, so much support. I was never told, I never felt like I couldn't achieve whatever I wanted to achieve. So I actually think that, contrary to what people would think on paper, they think, oh, poor Dylan didn't grow up like with a mum and a dad and live in that sort of environment. But never once have I thought thought of that as a negative. I think I wouldn't trade that for the world, put it that way. And then I think another pivotal moment for me that really helped me develop my sort of mindset and my inner self-belief and self-worth was confidence reinforced by love and support. And then I went to school and I started to get my inner self-worth and confidence developed through achievement. I was naturally quite good at sport. So obviously you go good at sport, you picked in all the sport teams, that makes you feel good internally. And then because I was quite good at school and getting good marks, and I would constantly say, I'm going to come first in this exam, or I'm going to like kill this exam or do really well in this assignment. And then by me continually doing that step by step over the years, it built my confidence up to the place that I never doubted myself or my ability. Not to say that I'm in any way perfect. I fuck up all the time and there's so many things I still need to improve. But at the end of the day, if someone wanted to judge me, that's fine, because they don't really know me. I know who I am, what my purpose is, and what I'm here to achieve. And that's all that really matters to me. And the people that are close to me, they can see through my imperfections and who I am and what I'm trying to, the type of person I'm trying to be. And if the people closest to me can see that, then I'm happy.
Just goes to show how important environment is. And you mentioned you grew up with your mom and your grandparents. Was your dad in the picture at all?
No, I didn't meet my dad until I think I was like 15. I don't know, maybe when I was a baby, my parents like divorced when I was like a proper baby or before, I don't even know. Honestly, it didn't faze me at all. I've no resentment towards my dad, or don't wish anything was different. Like, I understand why my parents separated, and I really can, and I understand why my mum didn't want me to, have a relationship with him until I was old enough to decide that myself. And I remember one time I was going to meet him probably a few years before I did, and I got scared and I bailed. And he was like, he understood and he was fine with that. And then when I did, it was just fine. I'm like, yeah, he is obviously the other half of me. Yep. And seeing certain things in him that I see in myself, and it makes more sense. Okay, that's why I have this, or part of the reason I'm like this. So yeah, but I've honestly, man, it shaped me for sure, but I think it shaped me in a really positive way.
So your granddad was your male role model in your life, or?
Yeah, my granddad was my best friend, my hero, everything. Like, he was my favorite person that's ever lived and ever will live. Like, and like that sounds a little bit harsh to my mum. My mum's the most important person in my life. She gave me everything and is still the most important person to me. But my granddad, my granda, was the most special person to me. The relationship I had with him was the best. Talk about things I'm being grateful for. The relationship I had with him is the number one thing I will forever be grateful for. He just gave me so much love and confidence, and like the amount that I've been able, like, he gave me so much love, and the love that I've been able to have for him means my capacity to love is so much higher because I've felt that level of love. Yeah. So now I am able to love at that level again.
Yeah, you know what it's like to love, bro. And so many people don't. They just see anger, violence. Like, for me growing up, I never had the best relationship with my father. Like, he was in the picture, but I was always like with my mum. Yeah. I was mummy's boy. Yeah, same. And I think because me and my dad were so different, I was kind of treated different. I always felt different. I was that shy, quite introverted kid who kind of kept to himself and more in touch with my feelings. Yeah. Whereas he's like the macho, masculine, suck up all these feelings, all that kind of stuff. And we were seen as different, never had the connection. And that affected me a lot growing up, which we'll touch on when I jump on your podcast. But it just goes to show how important it is to have those role models in your life, because they can really shape you into the person that you are today for both positive and negative. And
I think it's a lot more often than not, maybe now as you get into your mid to late 20s and you start really going deep on personal development, you realize it consciously, but it's all subconscious back when you're growing up, when you're a kid, when you're an adolescent, when you're going through high school. It's all subconscious, but it doesn't mean it's any less important.
Definitely. And it just pops up anyway. Like the other day, something happened and it set off a trigger in me. Yeah. And I went on a walk and I was just being self-aware and analyzing where did this trigger come from? Came from my childhood. And I was like, bro, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like, have you done much like work and research into looking into like past triggers and childhood
like timeline therapy and stuff? Yeah. So I've actually done some timeline therapy. Cool. I went to an event and did that. Yeah. That opened up a whole lot of stuff that I didn't know was there. And I'm like, where has this been hiding for the last 20 years of my life? But yeah, I definitely recommend everyone go and try it because, as you said, it's kept in our subconscious and sometimes it never comes up. Yeah. And if it does come up, we don't have the self-awareness to work through that and see where it actually came from. So, yeah, I definitely recommend it. Have you done any of that?
No, and one of my best friends, Gina, is really into it. And like she's had a lot of patterns to unlearn, and she's very open about dealing with her childhood trauma. And we always joke about like she has so much to heal. And I genuinely feel, I'm sure there's definitely things from my childhood that made me who I am today. But honestly, bro, I can look you in the eye and say I don't have any childhood trauma that's affecting me in a negative way. I truly am so grateful for my upbringing. What would be there to unpack is like not so much those moments, but I know there's certain things and protection mechanisms that my ego put into place over the years to protect me, and understanding them and then therefore better understanding my reactions to certain things is something that I'd be interested to go back and understand. But like I'm so content and so happy with who I am. So it'd be an interesting thing to go back. And I've always said, or recently I've said, I'm so interested in talking to a therapist, not to work through anything in particular, just to understand myself better and to help myself level up and become the best version of myself.
Definitely, bro. So many of us don't know who we are. Yeah. We go through life and we have no clue who the fuck we are. Yeah. We don't know our meaning, our purpose, our passion, any of that. And you mentioned, you want to become the best version of yourself, right? That is something that I push a lot. Someone actually brought up something to me and he goes, it's all good to strive to become the best version of yourself, but is there an element of I'm not good enough in there?
No, I'll tell you the truth. No, there's not. Yeah, no, there's not. And that's something I'm so grateful I've never struggled with. I've never struggled with am I good enough? I've always from a young age, and people, you can say, oh, look at this little cocky dickhead, whatever. I don't try to be cocky, arrogant at all. I don't try to let my confidence belittle anyone or make anyone feel less than they should. If anything, I try to help people feel the way I feel. Like I've felt from a very young age that that I am meant to do something special. I didn't know what it was, and that can sound really up myself to certain people, and that's fine. But you know the saying, like, you tell your dreams so big it makes other people uncomfortable when you tell them about it. I've just got no problem with that. Like I feel if someone's going to hear me say that and take that in a wrong way, it's probably more of a reflection on their self and where they are in their journey. And if anyone has that same experience as me, then don't take it personally. Like if you want to have the biggest podcast in Australia, tell people that. You know what I mean? So let them laugh at you if they want to. But no, I haven't. It's been like how I know what I can achieve. My self-critiques is like, okay, because I know what my ceiling is and what I'm here to achieve, fucking do not waste this opportunity. Like make sure you're drilling yourself as hard as you can in a sense that I'm still allowing myself the freedom and play to experience the world and all its fun. But it's like, I know what I can achieve and what I'm meant to achieve, but making sure I get the most out of myself. My biggest fear is unfulfilled potential. Yeah. Like to get to the end of my life, whenever that may be, and then like realize, hey, I know. And like if people, you know how people ask you that question sometimes podcast, you get to the end and like they say, oh, this was meant for you. Yeah. I already know that. I know what was meant for me. So I will know if I don't achieve that, it's such a personal tragedy to me. So it's like my whole life and my whole battle is like making sure I'm doing things that will allow me to get to that place to achieve whatever it is in store for me. You know what I mean? But I can't do that if I'm lazy. I can't do that if I'm playing it safe. And playing it safe might be staying and chasing the money in certain things rather than chasing what's really right for me. And if that can be the biggest like misconception with people, and what's okay, what's like, let's become successful. It doesn't mean let's earn as much money as we can. Success should be on a deeply personal level. What does success look like to you as an individual? Trying different things until you work out what that is, and then moving forward and setting up a plan to push you towards that end goal. And then you might get 6 months, 12 months, 2 years into that and realize, hey, it was a good learning experience. It probably isn't for me, and that's okay. Then reevaluate. From that lesson, that journey, what have I learned? What did I enjoy about it? What didn't I enjoy about it? And then what do I want to do next? Yep. And then just keep trying new things until you find something that lights that spark in you that can't be put out.
What does success mean to you then?
Success means to me, man, there's a couple things. It's on a daily level, it's the freedom to wake up and do what I want every day. But like when I say that, I don't mean to go to the beach and hang out with my mates every day. Sure, that would be fun and that will make me happy, but it wouldn't make me fulfilled. And success is finding fulfillment. It's just success to me is, and it's an ongoing thing, man. And I tell you, what success is for me right now is just moving myself closer to becoming the best version of myself each and every day, doing and working on things that are more in alignment with what I really want to be doing rather than what society or someone in my position is expected to do. So I don't have a clear defined version of success is for me. I know I have a really big North Star and that's really far away from where I am today. So if I can have a successful year or week or month, it's am I closer to where I wanted to be, where I want to go than where I was when I started? And how much did I leave on the table? How much closer could I have been if I fully did all the right things? So that's kind of how I measure success. It's not how good business is going or how good X is going, in terms of making revenue. It's the work I'm putting in and was it going in the right direction? Was my energy going in the right direction? And if it was, then I'm happy regardless of results.
The fulfillment and impact that you had, not only on yourself, but the people around you, right?
Yeah,
It's so important. Coming back to, you said your biggest fear in life was untapped potential. Mine's not having any regrets. So many people, when they're on their deathbeds, 80, 90, whatever, they look back in their life and have so many regrets for the things that they never got to do or never achieved. And for me, I'm like, fuck that. I do not want to get there and look back on my life and be like, what the hell did I do? Because life's too short. We don't know when it's going to end.
Yeah.
Sadly, it could end tomorrow for any of us here. We never know. So go out and achieve whatever you want to achieve in life. And, so many people are stuck in the rat race of life, working 9-to-5 jobs that they hate, doing things that they're not passionate about. And I know there was a period in your life that you were in university, correct? And you didn't like that and you dropped out.
Yeah, it wasn't very long. I'll tell you that.
Very similar to me. I went to uni for a year and a half and I dropped out because I fucking hated it, bro.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest inspirations for that was Garyvee. So he came to Sydney, a Success Resources event, and I went to it and I remember sitting in the crowd and I was like, fuck, imagine if I could do this. Imagine if I could have that impact. And that day it just shifted something in me. I was like, I need to not let fear, anxiety, anything hold me back. I'm going to go drop out of uni. Fucking started working in my family business to earn cash. Bought my first camera, started a podcast, and I've never looked back since, bro.
What did your family say when you're like, I'm dropping out of uni because of Garyvee? Essentially, like...
Well, when I told them I was actually going to the event, they're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, they're just going to try and sell you shit and like scam you and stuff like, whatever, I'm going anyway. Had no expectations, but when I told them I'm dropping out, they're like, yeah, sweet, because it's family business. But it's not my passion, eh?
No, of course. But you need to do something to earn you enough money to pay your bills and allow you to chase your passions until that become your full-time thing.
It's a vehicle that's going to get me to where I want to go, and it's already gotten me so far. Like, podcast equipment isn't cheap. So to be able to buy all that and have the income to do that, man, it's been amazing. What was your experience like with university, and like, why did you drop out?
Well, like it was a little bit of a confusing time for me. It was the first time I really thought about, fuck, what do I do? What am I meant to do? Because through school, from as early as I can remember in high school, probably like at least year 8, year 9, when you start picking your subjects and electives and stuff, I wanted to be a lawyer. I thought, because I had a very narrow-minded view of the world and career then. I only thought about what the opportunities that they teach you in school. I didn't think about having a business, let alone a podcast or an online business, or all the opportunities that were out there. So I thought, okay, what's the highest I can shoot? And in school, I thought that was being a lawyer. You wear a suit every day, you go and argue with people in court. You're attracted to the dumb, naive teenage boy things about it. So all the way through like year 9, 10, 11, 12, I was working hard to do that. I thought that's what I wanted to do. And got into uni. Luckily enough, I got accepted early entry, which means I didn't have a lot of pressure on my HSC. Like, I had to do an extra exam and stuff down there and meet them. And they're like, yeah, sweet, we like you. I'm like, cool. I'm thinking this is going to be the next 5 years of my life down at Wollongong University. And I got there and I tell you, man, like within 2 weeks, I knew I wasn't enjoying it. But I'm like, I'll stick it out for a little bit. I kept going. I was fucking hating it. If I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, I will leave everything to the last minute. And like, if you're trying to do a law assessment last night, like you're going to start, 4 p.m. you get home from uni, you're going to be working to 6 a.m. Like, it's so unhealthy. I was so unhappy of doing that. And I was Jeff for a couple months, and it got to the end of the semester to do all of our exams. And I'm like, saying to myself, am I going to put myself through the torture of studying all this shit I don't care about? And I just didn't. And I'm so grateful I made that decision. Like, looking back, like it was a big decision, and I'm proud that I made that decision. But at the end of the day, I'm never going to put myself through something that's not making me happy. So it wasn't really a hard decision. And I dropped out, and from there, I'm like, fuck this. Like, I was so unhappy. What's something that's going to be fun, that's not attached to chasing the money? Like, what's going to make me happy? So I decided never have doing an acting class or drama class in my life. I'm going to become an actor. So that was then the next 5-6 years of my life.
Shit. So did you get any acting gigs or?
Yeah, I did a bit, like a bunch of like local like film festival films and things like that. Like had an agent, auditioned for like a lot of big things and got really close to a couple of roles. But you're just like so not in control of the journey. And particularly as someone, I was probably stopped acting when I was like 23-ish, something like that. Like a very naive view. Like realistically, I was more in control than I realized at the time. But I just felt like I knew too many really talented, successful actors that were in their 30s or 40s that had won awards, Logies, whatever, and they still had to work part-time jobs to get by. And I just thought, is that really the life that I want to live? Because I knew how much I could achieve academically if I wanted to. So I decided to pause acting. Like I didn't said like I'd never go back. But from there, I got a job in corporate. I'm like, let me try climb the corporate ladder in sales and business development, and did that. And I probably enjoyed that a little bit. But then just like met some people who had started businesses and realized, oh, what, like just little online businesses. My first experience of meeting people that had their own businesses, and I realized, how did you, like, it was like like ties and socks and little things like that, my mate. And I realized, oh, fuck, there's like, you can just find products and sell them online and start your own thing. And during that time is when I first come across Garyvee's content, and then I was just consuming Garyvee content religiously every day, man. I was working in Chatswood, which is like North Sydney, past North Sydney, and I was living in like Western Sydney in Prestons, which is near Liverpool. So it was an hour and a half each way travel. So I'd have 3 hours a day listening to Garyvee podcasts for like 6 to 12 months, and it really shifted and rewired the way I thought about life and business. And that kind of launched me into the way I think now regarding opportunity in business and content and marketing and all that sort of stuff.
So not long after dropping out of uni, going through acting school, where was the idea to start Happy Skin Co? Like,
yeah, so I started it with a business partner, one of my mates. I actually worked before I went into corporate. I worked at a gym.
Yep.
I worked there for a couple of years, and this guy was a member there, and then he got a job, and we just really clicked. Like, he was a really smart guy. His name is George. Also really ambitious. Both wanted to do our own thing, and we decided, hey, there's a lot of similarities here. Why don't we get together and try and build a business together? And we did.
Fuck. And how many years has that been running for now?
We've been launched for about just under 4.5 years, but we've probably been like, including building the business, like Happy Skin Co has been a massive part of my life for about 5 years.
Shit. That's a massive period in your life and a journey in itself. What are some of the lessons that you've learned along the way?
How long you have, man? There's so many. Some of the ones that come to mind first is like, people are more important than productivity. And that's a big thing you kind of have to learn the hard way. Not in terms of like big blow-ups or anything, but you realize, because you're so driven and there's so much going through your head as a young entrepreneur, you want to achieve so much that sometimes you focus on pace and speed first but then it's like that classic saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And having to really learn that communicating and making people feel included and part of the journey, like going out of your way to do that. I was always really nice to people, but realizing how important that is and taking the time to do training and develop people and slowing down your communication style. Because if I was working with someone and I needed to get instructions, I could be straight to the point. What do you want to do? Sweet. Give it to me and go. But a lot of people don't work like that. A lot of people want to be sit down. So how's your day going? Yeah, your weekend, you catch up. You need to, even though you might think that 5 minutes chatting is a waste of time, to other people, depending on their communication type, that's what makes them feel valued. Yeah. That's what makes them feel like you value them and you respect them. And then they're happy to come and work with you and help you do your thing. So that was a big one. Another massive lesson that stands out is like, you can literally achieve whatever you want to achieve. If you can think it, you can achieve it. Like, set a goal, set a plan and go after it, and don't limit what you can achieve. Like, because once you start having little wins and little dreams coming true, then you realize, holy shit, like all these people, whether they be actors or ultra successful entrepreneurs that are living these awesome lives, they're all just people too. They're humans. They have like 2 eyes, a heart, 2 lungs, all the same stuff. And I used to look at celebrities or like millionaires as like these unicorns that they must have been born different, born special, born with a gift. But at the end of the day, they just started in the same place. They're humans as well. And then realizing all these people that we look up to and admire, you can be one of those people if you want. You're gonna have to pay the price for it. You're gonna have to put in a lot of work. There's gonna be sacrifice. There's gonna be growth, and growth isn't always fun, man. There's a lot of growth that sucks. That's you doubt yourself for a while, or you don't feel good about it, and like. A lot of the times whenever you're feeling most confused, or like, what am I fucking doing with my time, with my life? That's right before you have a breakthrough. Yeah. So push through that period, give yourself that time to settle and decompress and reevaluate where you are and what you really want to achieve, and just adjust your focus. That's probably a couple of the big ones that stand out.
Yeah, I love that. There's a quote that I've come across and it goes, the cost of winning is high, but the bill for regret is even higher.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So on this journey, entrepreneurship journey, it costs a lot.
Yeah.
Time, effort, relationships, everything. There's a lot of sacrifices that need to be made, but to get to where you want to be, that's what you got to do, bro. Yeah. And so many people are not willing to do that. But as you said, we all can do that. You just got to put yourself out there to do it.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's a bit of not a contradiction. Like, it's something that weighs on my mind a lot. It's like my biggest fear, as we were talking about, is leaving stuff on the table, leaving potential on the table, not achieving everything I'm meant to achieve. But then you also hear the saying that no one on their deathbed says, I wish I worked more. So it's like, I want to experience life to the fullest and have as many fun, cool experiences that aren't attached to business or success or achieving goals. But it's like, it's a fine balance between doing that and having fun in life. But to me, achieving my goals is the highest level of satisfaction. So it's like, everyone's balance will be different. Everyone's perfect lifestyle will be different. And figuring out what that is for you. If you truly are in love with like animals and you want to play with animals all day and you need to work a normal 9 to 5, and then you can do that to pay your bills, and then you can hang out with all your dogs and cats and whatever all day, and that's going to fulfill you, then do that. Everyone's going to have such a unique journey to go through, and just like quieting down all the noise and identifying what that is for you. And then just trying your best to block out all the hate, block out all the noise, all the doubters, and just stay true to what that is for you.
And coming back to and being self-aware of who you are, what you want, the person that you want to become. And you mentioned, passion. How did you go about finding your passion? Was it just by trying as many things as possible and be like, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like?
Yeah. So like, there's so many different ways I could take it. The first thing is like, it's funny one, like, with the business Happy Skin Co, me and my business partner George, when we started it back in the day, he's now got on to fucking launch another epic business since leaving. But it's like, I always try and encourage people to build businesses around their passions, but at the end of the day, I understand when it's not, because Happy Skin Co wasn't built out of a passion we had for skincare or beauty or hair removal. But I had a passion for freedom and choice and building a life that's going to be a vehicle for everything I else want to do. And if people with good intentions are at the head of these businesses, you can create change. So there's that. But then there's also, in terms of passions, like podcasting, speaking, reflecting on my life, what I've enjoyed doing my whole life, and giving myself more time to have these conversations on podcasts, to go speak on stages, because that's something that doesn't necessarily right now bring in all the money for me, but I really genuinely enjoy doing it. Like, this is something I would wake up and do every day for the rest of my life. So giving myself a time to do that, and then the end goal is only wake up and do things that you want to do for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? But then also, one thing I've only realized was a massive passion of mine in the last year, and it sounds weird. I've always been a really sporty kid. Played sports my whole life. Loved sports at school, athletics, carnival, cross country, whatever. I loved it. And then it was last year when the Olympics was on. This was when we were all in the lockdowns, and I was watching a lot of the Olympics, and I was getting such a rush from it. I loved it. I genuinely felt like it was filling up my cup. But at the same time, I had this guilt because the Olympics was on in Tokyo, and that means the events on in the day, and I should be working, but I'm watching all this sport. And I realized, like, I thought about, should I give up 2 weeks of working to the best of my ability to watch this Olympics once every 4 years, or should I work? And I said, okay, on the side of should I work, what's the argument? Why am I working? Okay, to make sure everything I'm doing is successful, to build a business, make enough money so that one day I can do whatever I want. Okay, what could I do? What would I be doing if I could do whatever I want right now? I'd be watching the Olympics. Yeah. So why would I sacrifice doing something that truly brings me pleasure and joy now to maybe one day be in a position that I'd have enough money that I can do what I truly want to do? So it's like balancing the work ethic and drive with also realizing sport is a massive passion of mine. Yeah. And I genuinely love it. And since I did that, I realized, because I don't really watch much TV. I watch the odd series on Netflix and stuff when I have time, but I don't really watch TV. I don't really do all that sort of stuff. But one thing that truly gives me joy is watching sport. And I had a lot of guilt associated with watching sport as like a waste of time. But like watching live sport, there's a rush to that. If that's something that truly fills up my cup, so then I feel like I can go and kill it and all these other things, then I should not feel guilty about doing that. I should lean into that. Whatever your interests are, if it's really something that gives you joy, don't feel bad about indulging in that. There's a point where it becomes overindulgent. If you're a gamer and all you want to do is game 12 hours a day, and unless you're trying to become a Twitch streamer and all that sort of stuff, there can be a point, but that becomes a negative. But finding where that balance is and doing enough things that make you feel really happy and enjoying the process along the way, I think is important. And it's not spoken about enough. Like the hustle culture, it's like, nah, work until your eyes bleed. I'm like, it's not sustainable for most people, you know?
No, and how have you dealt with that? Because obviously Garyvee's been a big part of your life too, and that's a big thing that he pushes. And a lot of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, that's all they see, and they think, fuck, this is what do I got to do? I can't spend the time with my family or watching Olympics like you. I've got to always be on the grind. That affects so many people because, they don't have that balance, and then they end up getting burnt out.
But that's one of the biggest misconceptions about Garyvee, and he's done multiple videos that addresses this. He's not saying, he's like, if you're complaining about where your life is and you're unhappy, then put in the work to change it. If you're happy, it's sweet, man. It's sweet. He does not preach hustle culture like a lot of people think. If you're not happy and you want to change your life, hard work is the way through it. Yeah. But everyone's balance is different. That's what he says. That's something I believe. And you just need to identify what that is for you. But if you want to be one of these people that, oh, woe is me and my life is shit, I have to go work a job I hate, but then you're saying that year after year and you're not doing anything to change it, then why should people feel sorry for you?
Exactly. There's too many people like that. They say, why me? But then they continue to do these things that are not getting them anywhere in life. And it's like, people can give you all the answers. You can watch all the videos, listen to all the podcasts. But at the end of the day, you're the one who has to take action on it.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. There's infinite content out there, but and it's good to develop a library inside your head of knowledge and advice and skills and options. But unless you take action on it, nothing's going to change.
Talking about Garyvee, I know you've had a lot of interactions with him. What impact has he had on you, and what's the experience been like working with him?
He's a legend, man. Gary's awesome. Like, I'll tell you the biggest thing I got out of it, and it wasn't anything that I learned from Garyvee, although I did learn a lot. One of the things I learned about him is what you see when in those clips is exactly what he's like 24/7.
Yeah.
So the people that try and like I've spent enough time with him, probably like a whole week's worth of time with him in total. Oh no, more. And he's so consistent. What you see is what you get. He's not putting on an act for all that stuff. But the biggest thing that I learned is, like, as I said, he was one of my earliest mentors or inspirations in the business space. And like spending years listening to his podcast, watching his videos, and then having the experience of getting to spend so much time with him. Like I went to that event, I think that you're talking about in 2019. And I met him there and I like talked to him briefly. And then the next year, I think it was, he was coming back to Australia, and I because I'm friends with Michael Lane, and I messaged them Success. I said, because they invited me that year. Oh, we're doing a dinner with Gary. Do you wanna come to it? I'm like, oh, no, I won't do it. And then after it, I'm like, fuck, why didn't I just do it? So I sent them an email. I said, oh, are you doing like a dinner with Garyvee when he's here this year? Like, we're not doing that, but he's actually doing something completely different. He's never done it before. He's gonna try, or like for the first time, just for himself, doing like small group mentoring. And like Garyvee's never done this. It was like a group of like 20 business owners from around the world. You had to apply to be a part of it, do interviews, submit like a proposal why you should be a part of it. And I thought, fuck, what a crazy opportunity. I'm going to do it. And I submitted my application, and first is you got to pass the Success Resources qualification, like the test, and they approved it, and then it gets on to Gary's team. And then if they approve it, you have to have a phone call with Gary. And I remember I was sitting in our first office in Preston's, near where I grew up, and it was about 10 or 11 in the morning, and I look at my phone, and there was a New York number calling, and I thought, fuck. I answered the phone, fucking hello, and he goes, yo, Dylan, it's Gary. And I just thought, fuck, this is like spinning me out. Not in a way I feel like I didn't deserve it. I felt like this was always going to happen, and then like it's like time caught up, reality caught up to reality caught up to what I was already living in my head. So I had a chat for like maybe 10, 15 minutes. Like, yeah, he's like, after chatting, I'm like, fuck, 100%. I want to be part of it. And then spending the time with him, yeah, look, I learned a lot about business, about life and stuff. But there was one moment where we're in his office in New York and we're sitting like where he records all those podcasts and we're hanging out in there and we're doing a chat at the end, just the group of like 10 or 15 of us. We're having some empathy wine with him. And I just remember sitting like looking around like there in like fucking whatever 50th floor in Hudson Yards in New York, looking out the windows. And I'm looking out at New York City, some kid from Western Sydney, right? And Garyvee's a meter away from me. I'm chatting to people of some of the most successful people like going around. I'm like, this has all happened in the space of like 2 years. What can I achieve in my life? So then realizing that's when I really, really understood that you should never limit your dreams and the power of visualization and law of attraction, because I had visualized that and I went from nothing, some kid living with his parents, working for like a normal corporate job, earning 50, 60K a year, to making millions of dollars and hanging out with Garyvee in New York.
Yeah. That's inspiring, bro. Especially like for myself, Garyvee's been a big pivotal person in my life. I'm like, I would love to go spend time with him and connect with him in person. And yeah, that is inspiring because I know I will one day. It's just a part of the journey. I just got to wait for it.
And the thing is about Gary, and it's funny, like and the thing is, I really feel like he would be happy to hear this. Like, I honestly, I don't know. I don't remember the last time I've listened to one of his podcasts. Like, I still follow him. I see some of his clips on Instagram. It's like, he's so consistent with his messages. Like, I feel like I've got so much out of that I don't need to constantly, like, I know, you know, I'll still listen in and follow along, but like, I used to obsess about listening to every podcast and listening to everything he does, but now I fucking hardly do, man. But that experience of finding a mentor that had really solid values and a really good history of success definitely contributed to the person I am today.
And it just goes to show, if you're not needing to consume his content as much, it means you're taking action. You're actually growing as a person. Yeah. If you're someone that's for 5 years still listening to his content and not taking any action, like, you need to look yourself in the fucking mirror and be like, what have I done with these last 5 years of my life? And I want to ask you, who has the version of you who started out on this journey, who did you have to become to be here today?
I'm still becoming him, man. I'm still the same person. I think I've always had like a lot of self-belief and drive and determination to be successful, which means I have a lot of energy, but knowing where to direct that energy and how to structure my life and my days to get everything I want to get out of life. And because I'm someone that, like, we'll be having a meeting and I just love chatting. I love people. So like, I can naturally as a person get drawn off topic because I want to catch up with you. How was your day? And then you're like, fuck, okay, let's get to work. So it's like being able to still be me, who I am as a person, but then setting boundaries and structures in my life that will allow me to achieve what I want to achieve today, adding things in my life like meditation and stretching and cold showers and things like that to push me out of my comfort zone, because greatness never happens when you're in your comfort zone. Coming up with ways that you can challenge yourself to level up. Some things will take really easily and it'll feel good from day one. And other things you might have to push yourself and be consistent with for a month. But pushing yourself outside of the comfort zone is going to always take you so much closer to where you want to be.
Definitely, bro. That's where the growth happens, man. And for the first 20 years of my life, I stayed in my comfort zone and I didn't achieve like anything. And then as soon as I stepped out, it's just like, wow, the world is your oyster, man. And you mentioned visualization. How do you go about that? Because so many people, they just visualize the end goal. And I know I listened to a bit of what you mentioned about visualizing every single step along the way. Is that what you do?
Yeah. So I'll give you a bit of a run through on how I visualize. And this is nothing I read in a book. This is not like I didn't do some Joe Dispenza fucking podcast or book. And like I'm not, no disrespect to him, he's fucking incredible. But this is just the way that I did it and what really worked for me. And when I visualize like this is when it's 10x in terms of effectiveness, in terms of power. So yeah, a lot of people, like you said, can just visualize the end goal, right? Okay, I want to be in Garyvee's office doing a podcast. Let's just say that's just your goal. So you're visualizing yourself. You're sitting in Gary's fucking office with all these fucking memorabilia behind him and stuff. You picture the room clearly. You picture the questions. And that's all good and that's great and that's a part of the process, but that's only going to get you so far. What I would do if that was the goal I wanted to manifest, right? I would have a clear image in my mind about what that looks like, but also it's like in reality for me, from when I was sitting in my bedroom to when I was there, that was what, 2.5 years. I can't just visualize one moment along this journey to get me there. Like what I would do, I would visualize myself if I hadn't started a business yet. I know I want to start a business, but didn't. I'd picture myself. I'd pick an idea in your head just for the visualization. It doesn't matter if this isn't the business you start. Pick what it is. Get super clear on the product, and the business name. Get really clear on that. And then visualize, spend half an hour going deep on that journey of building the business, the moments along the way, picking the brand name, getting your samples, testing and failing things. Visualize that until it's so clear that you feel like you're time traveling, like you've really experienced that. So get really clear on that. Spend time. Don't rush through it. Have an emotional experience and genuinely feel like you're there in that moment. Okay, you've done that. That might take you an hour. Sometimes I'll visualize one stage of my journey for a whole week because I'm busy and I really want to explore every single part of it. And next step, I'll visualize, okay, we launch. And then you can visualize the success and the sales that you've had in the first couple of months and how it's starting to slowly pick up and, bigger and bigger like partners or influencers starting to work with you as your brand starts to grow. The next thing you might visualize is, dude, I just got my first office. I've got an office. I've got 2 full-time staff. And I've got a truckload of stock coming. So I'll visualize, what does that look like? What does my office look like clearly? What does my warehouse look like clearly? Who's working in my team? What are they doing? And then I'd visualize myself rocking up to the office one day, saying hello to everyone, having that have that team meeting in your head. What are you talking about? How are you feeling? What type of person? How is that version of yourself acting? So I'd do that. And then I'd say, okay, my first million, visualize that moment. And then start to getting a little bit closer along the journey. Each moment should go into detail. Then, okay, how did you meet Garyvee? How did you come across it? You met him at an event and you just started riffing with him and talking. And then he's like, oh, you know what? That's fucking awesome, man. Talk to my team. Here's D-Rock or here's one of my producers. Chat to them. Next time you're in New York, come in. I'd love to have you on the podcast to talk about XYZ. Visualize that process. And then you're talking to one of his team. Go through that whole conversation in your head. Yeah. What are we talking about? What are the details? When are we meeting? When am I coming in? What are we going to talk about? All that sort of stuff. And then next step, finally, now visualizing the podcast with Garyvee. Okay, you're in New York. How you're flying from Sydney. Visualize the experience, getting to the airport, packing your bags, sitting there. Are you in business class? Are you in standard? Are you in first class? And what's going through your head as you're flying to New York, going to meet Garyvee? And then you get there. You're in New York, visualize that morning. You're getting up, you're getting a Uber or a cab or your train or whatever. Visualize that entire process. And by going into this level of detail and experiencing each moment emotionally and really in your head allowing yourself to go there, man, it is so powerful. Like the universe works in mysterious ways. And when you can put that sort of energy and intention out there, you should see how fast it's attracted back to you. And then boom, you shake Garyvee's hand, you say hello, visualize that podcast. And what next step? Yeah, fuck, that was awesome, man. I'm busy until 8. You want to go out for dinner tonight? Visualize the dinner. Visualize the whole thing and do this with whatever your goals are. Don't rush it. This whole visualization process might take you 2, 3, 4 weeks. But if you're constantly doing that along your journey about things you want to achieve or the direction you want to take your life, mate, it's just so powerful.
It is, bro. And it makes that goal attainable as well because, as I mentioned, so many people focus on the big thing. And because it may be so big, it becomes so daunting and they don't even start.
They don't know how they're going to get there.
Yeah. So we have to break it down into all these little steps, visualize all these little steps because then it makes it easy. All you have to do is take the first one and then take the next one and you just build momentum.
And what's important as well and what you should do when you're visualizing is not just visualize the moments, visualize the type of person you are. Visualize how you shop, visualize your habits, what your morning routine is, how you're speaking to your employees, how you speak to people now versus how you speak to them then. Are you more calm? Are you more thoughtful? Are you more clear and articulate? Visualize your journey, and each step you should be leveling up the way you are in your head as well.
Definitely, because you can stand in front of a mirror and be like, I want to be a millionaire, I want to be a millionaire. But if you're not acting like someone who is a millionaire, you're never gonna get there.
It's like, no, I am a millionaire. That's it's not I believe, it's like I know.
What have some of the hardest moments been on this journey thus far? Like, have you had any mental struggles along the way? Because it's not all sunshine and rainbows business.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Some of the hardest things, man, is just because there's a lot of sacrifice and it's not about like, there's going to be so many difficulties and so many challenges with business, right? But it's not about like which moments were hard. How did I overcome X challenge, Y challenge, Z challenge? It's realizing that business is going to constantly throw shit at you. It's going to constantly test you and challenge you and frustrate you and make you happy and excited, but then frustrated and confused, and understanding that's part of it and that's okay. And if I want to be in business long term, that's something I need to get used to. going through that period of probably a couple of months, I was like, fucking hell, like, why did I choose a career path that was involving me figuring out and solving so many problems? And like the further you go in your career, the more problems you're going to have to solve. And if that's something you want to shy away from, and it was something I felt like I wanted to shy away from because it was a challenge, it was something I had to break through that I didn't like doing. No one when they're young really likes solving problems or being that person with all the responsibility. It's like, that's a growth moment that you have to break through to understand I am this person now. Yeah. And this pressure is privilege. So going through that journey of wanting to be the person that people come to with all their problems was probably the hardest part of the journey.
I think it's best to be naive in the beginning too.
Oh yeah.
Because if you knew everything that you had to do, you may not have started it.
Yeah. It's good. That naivety at the start is, it's priceless.
Because I remember like knowing what I know now with the podcast, bro, there's so much shit that goes into it. People don't see it. It's like an iceberg analogy. You know, you see what's on top, but there's so much stuff that goes underneath. And I see it all the time. People jump into starting podcasts and they may do a few episodes and they're like, oh, wow, there's so much that goes into this. And there may be influencers on Instagram or TikTok, but that doesn't transfer over into podcasting. It's a whole different ball game, and you actually got to provide value to the person. Yeah. You can't just do what you do on social media, post photos of your body and stuff like that. Like there's so much more.
Yeah. And that's something that we probably went in a little bit naive as well. As I was saying before we started rolling, we the whole time before we launched, planned to do 2 episodes a week. And we did that for the first month, and we realized how fucking much work it is to produce, research, book guests, and like edit and do all the clips for 2 episodes a week on top of business and all the other priorities I have. So definitely was a little bit of a learning experience. Like you say, you learn from your mistakes and you got to try things, and we'll definitely get back to doing 2 episodes a week again in the future. But for now, I think it's such a more enjoyable experience and process doing 1 a week around all the other priorities. And only doing 1 a week means I look forward to them even more. I'm more excited to research the guests and look into them even more. So yeah.
Talking about business, finance, success, you know, as a society, we see money as like the pinnacle. That's what we should be striving for. You know, building this successful business, what has having money taught you about life? Yeah.
It's a bit of a contradiction. Like money's really important, but it's also not. It's really on a personal level dependent on what your goals are and what you achieve. I honestly think that no one needs to earn more than a couple $100,000 a year. Like, and I know that's a lot of money, but I'm saying from my experience, your happiness, if you earn a couple $100,000 a year, you can travel when you want to travel. You can take meetings when you want to take meetings. You have the flexibility to buy the clothes, the food, to see people whenever you want. Apart from that, it's all ego. You don't need the $20,000 watch. You don't need to fly first class. You don't need to wear Gucci all day. You don't need 17 mansions. It's like anything past that point, which gives you the freedom to wake up every day and work on what you want to work on. Everything past that point is ego. And a lot of time that you speak to people or you hear podcasts of the ultra successful people, what's your goal? I want to become a billionaire. I would hazard a guess that 90% of people that say they want to become a billionaire is out of insecurity. Or some moment of insecurity in their childhood that felt like they need to be that to be worth or to get the respect or love that they didn't get. I genuinely feel that. Some people will say no and disagree, I'm sure, but yeah.
It's that external validation that so many people are going for, and a big thing I push is, yes, external is good. That's just the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Focus on the internal fulfillment and what you want to feel on a day-to-day basis. Like, so many people haven't even sat there and written down, like, what feelings do you want to feel daily?
Yeah.
And then what activities can you do to actually feel that certain way and implement that into your day-to-day life?
Like, don't get me wrong, I'd love to become a billionaire, but if it happens by me waking up every day and doing what I love, and by doing what I love and what I'm passionate about, it attracts that amount of money to me, then great. But mapping your life and decision-making on that financial goal, I don't think it's going to make you happy, because it may make you happy on a certain level, but 99% of people are going to fail if you're going after the monetary goal, especially if it's anything billionaire, 100 million, you know what I mean? Like it's such a unrealistic goal, and it's all about the destination rather than the journey. If your goal is waking up every day, and whether it be playing sport, painting art, singing, podcasting, if you can do that every day and you become really good at it because you're really passionate about it, and then from that you build an audience and can make a lot of money from it, then beautiful.
Money can buy you freedom, but it can also make you a slave.
Big time, man. Yeah.
As we start to wrap up, where can the people find you on social media, support you?
Yeah. The best places now, man, Instagram and TikTok. Anything for me, business related, e-com related, mindset related is just at Dylan Mullan. And then, but a lot of the content I put out a bit, and me and with the team are producing a lot more content around business advice and life advice and things I've learned along the way. But where we're putting out the most content and what I'm most excited about right now is the podcast, man, at Life, Money and Love. We've had some awesome guests on. The guests we have coming up in the next month are epic, putting so much time and effort into it. Like the people just think we just rock up and put on a podcast and I chat to someone for an hour. There is, on my end, 5 hours of prep for a podcast. On the boys' end, putting together the clips, editing the videos, there's double that. And it's like all this stuff costs money, man. I'm so passionate about it and it's so much fun. And just getting the messages from people saying, oh my God, I'm learning so much and I'm getting so much value out of it, or inspiration, or at times just entertainment. It really blows me away. People I wouldn't imagine I'm bumping into people and they're saying, oh, I've been listening to your podcast. Like, what? Like, it blows you away. So it's really humbling, but really proud of the work we're doing and then the type of content we're putting out. So yeah, the podcast right now it'd be the place I'd say to check out. Life, Money and Love, and then my own personal Dylan Mullan will have a lot of more context around me and what I'm doing as well.
Yeah. You got to do the podcast out of passion, Because
the
the reality is it's very hard to make money from it.
Yeah.
You got to do it out of true passion and wanting to talk and communicate with people.
Exactly.
We have a closing tradition on the podcast. You're going to know what this is because I stole it from someone, from Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah.
Where the previous guest asked the next guest the question.
Yeah, I love that.
What is the nicest thing a person has ever done for you that you're grateful for?
Everything my granddad did for the 22 years of my life that I lived with him. Every single moment that I had with him was perfect. There wasn't a selfless bone in his body. Every single moment looking back, he lived for his family, not out of because that's the right thing to do, because that's who he was, and that gave him the most joy. So yeah, every second that I live with my granddad and everything he gave me, every second of time I got to spend with him is the thing I'm most grateful for. And him being himself was the kindest thing anyone could have done to me or my family or anyone that came in contact with him.
That is awesome. Dylan, thank you so much for chatting, inviting me to this studio. The listeners are probably thinking, this is a mental health podcast. Yeah. Why am I talking to Dylan? It's because you're living in alignment with your passion, your purpose. And I'm a big believer when it comes to mental health, a big area why people go down those dark holes is because they have no meaning. They have no purpose. They're not being their authentic self. So to be able to, push past that, get people in a healthy mental health space, find their passion, find their purpose. That's why I want to talk to you, because you not only inspired me, but I'm sure you've inspired all the listeners as well. So, dude, thank you.
Thanks, man. It's really humbling to hear that, and it kind of blows me away, and it's hard to take that sort of stuff on. Like, I'm sure it has, and I've heard so many people say, like, I've inspired them, and if I'm inspiring anyone at all, then that's more than I ever could have asked. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm just going to keep trying to do me and do things that'll make me happy and share things that will hopefully make other people set up a life that'll make them happy as well.
Grateful, man. For all the listeners, if you got some value out of today, check out what Dylan's doing. Take a screenshot of the episode, tag myself and Dylan. We'd love to see you guys listening. Like, subscribe, all that stuff, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.
Legend. Thank you.